I'm Beth Dixon, and I'm here to make it clear that men are fucking abusive.
And that's on the island, because that's literally what we saw.
Yeah, no, I mean, just in Lost, but also in life.
In general, men are pigs. This for those that don't know.
Also, hi.
Yeah, welcome. Hi.
Hey, welcome to Hot Mess Moments.
What's up all of our male viewers?
Yeah. We're coming in hot today.
Just get prepared, because Beth's about to step
Blast
on
off.
she's about to blast off. She's about to step on a fucking stool and tell you she's going to preach you today, because we covered two I couldn't think of the word for it. We covered 2 episodes of soapbox. Yeah. We covered 2 episodes of Lost tonight or today. Lost season 2, episode 11, The Hunting Party, and Lost season 2, episode 12, Fire and Water. Before we get into that, my name's Dylan Zahner, also known as Dylan, and my favorite show is Lost, but I've never seen The Nanny before.
And I'm Beth Dixon, also known as Augusta Wind11, and my favorite show of all time is The Nanny, but I have never seen Lost before, and boy, am I lost as to why people like Charlie and Jack. That is what we'll be discussing today on another edition of the podcast of Beth Gets Angry.
Yes, because these episodes were spicy. We have so much to talk about in this double Lost episode, because you didn't get a Lost episode last week because of Thanksgiving. So we are actually going to hop right into it, because we have so much to discuss. Normally we like chit chat and have a little bit of a kiki in the beginning to like get to know each other, see how we were doing.
Get to know each other. This
is the first time I'm meeting you, Beth. I just need to let the viewers know I've never met you before.
Nice to meet you.
Also, my lighting is wild. So for those that are watching the video version, it is like I am standing in front of the sun.
And for those that are watching the video or listening to the audio version, mine's the complete opposite, because I have half of my screen is very dark, but then the other half is very bright because I put up my Christmas tree.
And that fits Lost, because black and white is a theme.
Bringing it back. Look at black and white, baby. I'm wearing black and white.
That's one of the colors too. That's what I'm wearing.
Okay, so
so let's just get into it. We are going to be covering Lost season 2, episode 11. I think it's episode 11, The Hunting Party, and Lost season 2, episode 12, Fire plus Water. So we have to get into this first episode, because in my opinion, the first episode's better than the second.
Oh, it's infinitely better than the second.
So much better. I'm so glad that we paired these up.
For 2 very different reasons.
I'm actually so glad we paired these up, because after watching Fire plus Water, I was like, ooh, that would have been a shitty episode to just have be by itself.
You know what? I'm thankful that we watched both of these together, because from what I understand, after we finished watching, you said, girl, wait until you see these next episodes. Yes. They're fire. Now, that's all he said to me. For those that don't know, if you're new, you're just joining us, or you've been here for a while and we haven't said it for a while, we watch the episodes together on Discord, and we share our screens, and we go mute, and we have our cameras on so we can see each other's reactions. And what we normally do, like little commentary every once in a while, like, she got an ass or something like that, but nothing that's like pertinent to the plot normally. And then we might say like 1 or 2 comments, but I think we're pretty forthcoming about the things that we say, but we tried to save it for you for this podcast. And boy, do we have things to talk about. So first of all,
I see if this is better. It is so insanely bright. Okay. That's worse. I'm turning the light back.
Yeah, it was better before.
All right. So let's get your thoughts, feelings, concerns, and rating for the first episode, The Hunting Party.
Okay. Well, The Hunting Party is coming out at a strong 6 here. Okay. There's both episodes were solid episodes. This one is better. Wait until you see the rating for the second episode. It's going to be great. This was a solid 6 for me. It wasn't amazing. I don't feel like we really learn anything that's super new about Jack, except like we get further explanation of characteristics about him that we already knew, right? We know that he's not somebody who is willing to stop. We know he has a huge ego. We know that a lot of that has been fed into from the people around him. He's somebody who feels like who always has to fix things. Like these are things we know about him. And we just see a little bit more context for that, both in terms of this surgery that he, being called the miracle worker and the fact that his wife is leaving him. So there are things here that we learn about his past, but it's not something that's like groundbreaking about Jack. So I will say that. I think that generally speaking, it starts off and doesn't make sense to me.
Like the episode in general?
Yes. It makes no sense why Michael would knock out Locke and make Jack get into the gun safe and shut them in there. It makes no sense.
I think it does, but we don't know what was said on that computer. Like the last time we had seen Michael was he had a conversation with someone that we assume was Walt on that computer, and the last line was purposely not shown to us. Whatever that last line is sent Michael over the edge, and he knocked out Locke, stole a gun, and bounced the fuck out of there.
But the thing is like, he would have been given a gun anyway. Like Locke was literally giving him a gun. He could have just said, cool, I'll meet you out there, and then just took off.
Like, I feel like Locke is the kind of person where if you're using a gun for training practice, he is going to want to come with you. And
I understand that. I just think that like I guess that makes sense. It just seems so uncharacteristic for him to like point a gun at Jack and do all of this work. By the way, he was already gone. He came back essentially.
Yeah, that was weird. It was like he knocked out Locke, but then didn't leave.
That's my point. Like things about this, like it clearly the whole point of the episode is we need to get Michael out here as quick as possible. Yeah. So I felt like it was somewhat lazy writing in doing so.
Oh, for sure. These two episodes had a lot of lazy writing.
So that's the first thing. And then like Michael just takes off. And then we have like this weird, like, there's just things about the motivations of the characters, which I realize that they're trying to be a little bit ambiguous with it, but just like some of the, like I don't know. They're like, yes, Jack is going after Michael because he wants to fix it, I guess. Locke, he tells Locke that he has to come because he's a tracker. Sawyer's going but he's injured for what? Because he cares about Michael and Walt. He feels guilty that he couldn't shoot the guy so that Walt was taken. What is there? Like and then like the whole Jack yelling at Kate. I mean, there's just so much here that I'm just like, why? Like it's like like I don't know.
No, I think you bring up a lot of good points. It doesn't make sense narratively of why they are going off in this journey. And I think the writers were like just trying to like pull straws to figure out a reason to get these specific 3 into the jungle and then to have Kate kidnapped.
Yes.
In order to have that really cool scene with the others where we learn a fuck ton of new information. And just in terms of like potentially the structure of the others, their claim on this island, and like a bit more about like their rules of such.
It's a really interesting point, and I think that you're 100% right. I feel like it's I always bring it back to this, and I'm so sorry. It kind of reminds me a lot of the last season of Game of Thrones.
I thought you were about to say Twilight, and I was about to freak out.
No. They knew where they wanted to end. They didn't know the formula of how to get to that ending. And the formula feels good at sometimes, but doesn't make sense the rest of the time. And so it just seems like it's sloppily put together, right? It's like when you're baking something and you know what it's supposed to look like, but you don't know how to make it. And so you like generally know what you should put into like this particular dessert, and you're like, well, I don't know what the measurements are, so I'll try doing this. And then it's like,
this is basically an episode of Nailed It on Netflix. That's literally what Lost Writing is like.
Is that Nicole Byer?
Yes, it's so good.
She's such a queen.
She is a queen. You know what? Nicole Byer, to go on a tangent, as we will.
Hot Mess Tangents. We need to rebrand. Hot Mess Tangents.
You know what's crazy is we live in a post-smoking society. Smoking is still obviously like a big thing, but like when you learn someone's a smoker, it's like a shock. When I learned Nicole Byer smokes, I don't know why, it like threw me for a loop. Like I like was listening to an episode of her podcast. Great podcast, by the way. Her and her co-host are hilarious. But they were talking about smoking, and I just, it's so weird to me when I meet someone and they're a smoker, because it feels like that's such a dated concept now. Like
it vaping,
I get, because it's like a new way to hook people onto smoking. But like if someone's like taking drags out of a cigarette, I'm like, oh look, it's the 90s. Like,
you know what was interesting? When I got on the train to go upstate for Thanksgiving, the subway stop I had to get off of stops right at Penn Station, which is where I was catching my train. And as I walked through, there was a guy fully just smoking a cigarette in the middle of Penn Station. And it was so jarring to me because I was like, wait, nobody smokes inside. Like, that's not allowed. And then there was a cop clearly following him, and he was going up the escalator to leave. And I could tell that the cop was like, do I go up the escalator? He's already leaving. And so like the cop turned around because like he wasn't going to bother him about it.
Yeah.
But I was clearly like, it was so jarring to me. I was like, hey,
yeah, exactly.
Remember when they used to have smoking and non-smoking sections?
It's the dumbest. Oh my God. I used to
as if you couldn't smell the smoke in the non-smoking section.
Oh, it was the
worst. As if secondhand and thirdhand smoke was not already happening in that restaurant.
Growing up in the Midwest, they clung to the smoking sections like it was their fucking like life goal.
Wow.
Like people acted like their liberties had been taken away from them. It was insane. And eventually they lost, and now you have to smoke outside. But and then weird tangent. Okay, sorry. Back to the episode. So I want to know, again, these two episodes are similar in the sense that there's not a lot of side story. We will eventually talk about the Libby Hurley potential romance.
Which is in both episodes. Yeah. And it makes sense why we watch both these side by side. It did.
But we can touch on that a little bit later. But there's really only one storyline in both of these episodes. Maybe a little bit with like Jin and Sun, where we get like their relationship as clearly developed and changed so much because of this island, to the point where they're openly talking about like the abusive nature that Jin put Sun through for 4 years, and like him kind of coming to terms like, yeah, that was really shitty of me. Like, and then like it was really cool. I
like that he said, I don't like being told what to do. And Sun doesn't apologize for it, and instead says, welcome to what my life has been with you. And he takes note and basically apologizes, take ownership of it. I loved that.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's
Jin
great.
has become so hot to me because of this.
He is so hot.
He's in a new TV show, and he speaks perfect English, obviously, in this new, and I know the actor does anyway, but I just sat there and I'm like, but he's only supposed to speak Korean.
It was like him in that flashback, in that dream sequence when he speaks English, like one English word to Hurley in Hurley's dream. And it's just like jarring. Like,
yeah, that was weird. But that's the thing. That's what I really like seeing their relationship change. And I like seeing Sun really become an empowered, strong woman and a strong partner. And like, I really like that. And that's like I said, like I really do think that the island test people and they've kind of gone through the tests that they need to do to resolve it. So if and when they pass, it's like, excuse me, they go to whatever, heaven or whatever they go to.
Do you think then they have passed their test and they are on their way out then, potentially?
I think that they've passed their relationship test. I'm sure that there's still things that they haven't really, like Jin really hasn't come to terms with like the way that he treated his father and like this whole background of being ashamed of his past and those kind of things. And Sun also hasn't reconciled with the things that maybe her status and entitlement have like brought upon her family without knowing. She could have stepped away from the family. He could not have,
Yeah.
And so that's something that's really interesting to see. So that's them. Really, I mean, let's chat a little bit about the main storyline, then we could talk about the memories and kind of go from there. But basically, it's this whole search crew to go after Michael. Michael's looking for Walt, and we know that the message on the computer told him a specific spot, because what they discover is when they're tracking him, that he's going in a direction that nobody has gone yet before. Like he is not going in the direction that the tail section came back. He's not retracing steps. He's forging a new path, and it's like up a mountain.
Yeah, that was like the weird thing is they were like, because they've never climbed this super steep vertical cliff before because there's really no need to. And so they're like, yeah, it's very uncharacteristic of him to like go this weird way. But they're in uncharted territory now. So we are seeing different parts of the jungle that we haven't seen before.
And then they finally get all the way up there and they hear gunshots and they go, ooh, that's got to be Michael. Let's run towards gunfire. And I'm like,
they were probably trying to save Michael. I
don't care. You can't save somebody if you get shot.
That's true. That's very true. They all had guns, though. I think they were there to make sure that Michael wasn't getting shot at. A gun
does not protect you from a bullet that's coming your way when you don't know where the bullets are being shot.
It does if you live in Texas, apparently.
I mean, let's take the whole thing into consideration, right? What are people trained now? Because we have to be trained because we live in a gun fucking happy America where our children at the age of 3 are being told what to do if somebody tries to come and murder them. They are given 3 choices: hide, run, or fight. And those are the 3 things you get. And it's ridiculous that Jack, of all people, goes for fight. And I'm like, that is so, like, I know that they're trying to make it seem characteristic of Jack. Oh, yeah, of course, Jack would try to run and save the day. No, Jack is pragmatic as hell. He knows that he has got to wait for the gunfire and then assess what's happening in order to give the best care. That is what he is trained to do. And so I think that was so stupid that they run towards gunfire. No.
Well, they even comment about that.
I know they do, but I'm like, Locke, why are you running after Jack? Let Jack run. You said the same thing about Michael. We can't control everybody else. Like, let people make their own decisions. Let Jack decide to be a fucking dumbass and run. Sawyer's already been shot. Why is everybody just running? True. It's so stupid.
Can we talk about, before we get into them going up the hill, this weird moment where Jack decides to fucking be a sexist pig and not let Kate, who is clearly one of the most qualified people to probably track someone outside of Locke, to not go with them and decide to take Sawyer, who is literally on antibiotics and is kind of loopy still.
Can't like go up a mountain. Like I don't get it. And it's not that he tells her that she can't go. It's the manner in which he like fully yells at her. Yeah. He treats her like she's a little girl. Like it's awful. And clearly this is because of 2 things. One, he is always upset with Kate, and he's super jealous of the fact that there's clearly a strong connection between Sawyer and Kate. And they're not even hiding it anymore. Like it is clearly blossoming between Sawyer and Kate from both ends of this, right? And he's super jealous. But like in a typical fucking man way, Like, he yells at the woman about it rather than just like
take it out on Sawyer or ask Sawyer his feelings. Like, and Sawyer even says like, "Oh, you love Kate," like a fucking high schooler. And Sawyer's just kind of like, "What did you just say?" And
it's so stupid. Like, I get
yeah,
it, dude. Like, I get if your like heart is broken a little bit, because here's the reason why. They showed it in the flashback of Kate and kissing Jack again. And I realized watching that scene the second time in the preview, she breaks it off because she realizes there's nothing there. Like, I think
yeah,
that's what she realizes, is like she wants to like Jack, but there's just not that chemistry that she wished was there.
yeah.
That chemistry is with Sawyer, which she knows because she has kissed Sawyer.
And I think she is also struggling with the fact that she does have a stronger, I think, I think she has a stronger romantic attraction to Jack, but she has
Yeah.
a stronger sexual attraction to Sawyer. And she's
Yeah.
trying to develop a romantic attraction, but she's stopped by the fact that she has that past with her father,
Yeah.
and Sawyer reminds her of her father. But
Yeah.
Jack,
It's very
like,
physical and sexual
yeah,
with Sawyer.
for
You're
sure.
you're 100% correct. I would say that even though it's more romantic in nature, romantic feelings ultimately, and when you think of a relationship for most people,
Yeah.
romantic relationships are the things that are like really more powerful when you're trying to like choose a partner, right? Your sexual
Yeah.
attraction, your physical attraction could be fleeting with people, but romantic
Yeah.
attraction is normally the thing that's like much stronger and bonds you there. And so I do think that she's kind of struggling with that, but I don't think that she's fully has like a full blown romantic crush on Jack. But
For
I
sure.
do
Yeah.
agree that she has more romantic feelings for him because she likes him better as a person overall.
Yeah. I think like she knows in her head that even though I disagree with it, that she would have a much better life being with someone like Jack than with someone like Sawyer.
Jack
Just
has
because of
done
he's
nothing
done
but
nothing.
yell at her and be
He's a dick.
so rude and tell her that she can't do things. And that is such a turn on. Like, I don't know if it's just because I'm like a product of watching some of these
I
shows
it's
or
because you're
what.
like you have taste. Like that's
And
why.
that's it. Thanks. It's why I'm 33 and single, because I have hate everybody.
Yeah, you won't go for someone like Jack, and you shouldn't.
No, it's so true. Like, I literally, you're gonna laugh. I was literally on Hinge, and I was talking to a doctor or a fourth year medicine medical student,
Yeah.
and just he was nice enough, but just there were things about it, like all he did was comment, "Oh, you're so beautiful, oh, you're so pretty," and I'm like, I'm telling you things other than just like, thank you for telling me I'm beautiful. But here, okay, I'm gonna tell you weird. This is a tangent again.
Let's
I have
go.
I have discovered, and I don't know if anybody else out there is like this or not. And this could just be because of my demisexuality, my being ace.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't like if I'm on a dating app or going out on a first date or meeting somebody or whatever, if they only comment on my physical appearances.
That's like
If
weird.
which happens all the time for, "Oh, you're so beautiful.
Your ass
like."
is so fat. I love it.
If they
Like,
said that shit, I'd be here for it. I'd be like, "Yes, queen." But then I'd realize that they're not a straight guy.
yeah.
But but what they're normally gonna be like is, "I bounce a quarter off that." No,
Like, damn, girl.
damn, no.
That's a
I
bakery.
don't really like when people are just like, "You're beautiful. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. You're beautiful." I'm like, I have
Yeah, that
substance.
well, and they don't clearly. Like if they
And
have to
that's
rely on that, like
and
mm,
I'm like trying to like form a connection in some sort. So that's really difficult. But anyway, going back to the whole, issue at hand here, clearly there's this issue between Jack and Kate, but he's taking it out on everybody rather than like Once again, not being emotionally available and in tune with how he should be able to rectify these feelings, because clearly he wasn't able to do it in his past, which we'll get to in a second. And clearly he's never learned it with surgery and being a doctor. He's never learned it in any capacity, but also because he is a cis white man in a society that tells him that he shouldn't have emotions other than anger. So
And also we learn, and again, this kind of ties into his backstory that we learn. He has this weird fascination with needing to fix things. And so and
part of it does comes with expectation, which I get.
Yeah.
Like people's expectations of him, which I totally get.
Like, and people rely, like, and that's got to be tough. Like, if I'm thinking from Jack's perspective of people putting all this pressure on you to fix every problem that is on the island, and he then feels the need, I need to fix every problem that's on this island, because like he is like the worst person to go to fix your problems, because he literally gets off to that. Like, that is like his bread and butter. He's
but
like,
not even gets off in a good way. Like, he gets off like in a way that's just like, ugh, I'm gonna like fucking whip you with this belt, but not fucking actually come. Like, it's so weird. Like, he turns into such a sadist, but he doesn't like enjoy it. I don't know.
He says like, dig faster, woman. No, just kidding.
He turns into Jeff Probst.
He turns into Jeff Probst.
He turns into Jeff Probst yelling at any middle-aged woman trying to like do their best in a Survivor challenge.
Dig faster, woman.
Dig. You've got to want it. You've got to want. This is where you earn it.
I want to. Now we have to discuss the elephant in the room. The others.
Yes.
Thoughts on this beautiful scene that people refer back to all the time, of this cool moment where he's just like, light them up. And then all the torches all around.
And then, even though this was about 7 years before the song came out, they started playing Fall Out Boy's "Light 'Em Up, 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 Light 'Em Up, Up, Up."
And that was the last episode of Hot Mess. Good song though. Good song.
It's a great song. Yeah, that was so cool. I like that we get that the guy knows their names. They never. Once again, I don't know if this is because they had the spy with Ethan. We also know that the guy in the back of the plane. What was his name again? Graham?
Oh my God, I am blanking. It's Ethan, and I truly can't remember.
I feel like it was Graham, wasn't it?
It was. I don't think it was Graham. I can find it out.
Okay, maybe Graham was the guy she put in the pit. I can't remember. But anyway, I know that they had like 2 spy people or whatever. But what I think is interesting is he knows their names. He doesn't. What was it?
Goodwin.
He knows their names. First of all, somebody shoots Sawyer not to kill. Clearly, they didn't do it to kill. They did it to maim.
Yeah.
And I think they shoot him in the cheek, or
they like graze his. Yeah, they like graze his cheek or his neck or something. Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, like, poor Sawyer.
He's just like, going through it.
You couldn't shoot like Locke or Jack or something. You had to go for Sawyer. So yeah, this is an incredible scene. This is what saves the episode, because I'm like, yes, give me more lore, give me more background. It sounds like, first of all, they're going to deal with Michael, which like clearly they probably already have dealt with Michael. They said it was. Locke said the shells that were on the ground were from Michael's gun.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced. Either they fully know where Michael is. Like, so the others, and there's so many of them, I don't think that Michael would have a chance, right? He just learned how to shoot a gun, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I think this is ammo that is just similar ammo, because clearly there are Dharma stations all over. They probably would have been loaded with the same guns, those kind of things. Okay, I think that others have access to this arsenal. And I think that shootout happened when they captured Kate.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if she has a gun or not. I don't think that she did.
I don't think she did. Yeah.
I don't think that she did, but we saw her go back to the beach and try to get someone to go into, the hatch, so she very well could have just grabbed another one. I don't know. I don't know if they really even shut it. I don't know if she knows the new combination. I don't know.
Yeah.
But regardless, I feel like what they did was they captured her at that moment with the shootout.
Okay.
Because she's such a good tracker, maybe she got ahead. I don't know. It could very well have been Michael as well. But we hear that they're going to deal with Michael, whatever, that Walt is safe. He's fine.
Yeah. He says he's safe and he's a special boy. He's a very special boy.
Which, like, first of all, if we didn't have that flashback of him clearly potentially having like some kind of power or whatever, that's a creepy pedophile.
It's very creepy.
Well,
that's probably how Jack's thinking. That's probably how Jack and them are thinking. They're like, what the fuck? Like,
I really do think that there's something about the good and the bad, right? So clearly the others from the tail end of the plane were being captured if they were good. They were being captured in these different ways.
Yeah.
Oh, I have so many weird theories that are running through my head, and some of them are connecting to the second episode now, and I'm like, ugh. Anyway.
Okay. No, go. I mean, you can explain them. I also want to get your thoughts. I love, or not even thoughts. I just love this line from the lead other that looks like Santa.
Or as I called him, the clown before this from DVD before
DVD, I love this line of tell me, you go over to a man's house for the first time, do you take off your shoes?
I always do, because I think it's rude to wear shoes indoors.
But I'm reading on Lostpedia, and there's a really good trivia fact here. That line has some sort of connection, because when Locke first enters the Swan Station, he takes his shoes off. When Jack first enters enters the Swan Station, he does not. And so it like kind of like further showcases like Locke's respect for this island and Jack's probably not respect for this island. And it's just a silly little thing, but it really does.
That's huge.
It really does like paint these characters in a specific light.
Now, the other thing that happens that's I lit up on this. I don't know if you caught this or not. I wrote it down in one word, exclamation point. Alex.
Yeah. Yeah, the others refer to someone named Alex that brings over Kate. Now, we don't get to see them on screen, so we don't know if it is a male Alex or a female Alex, but we do non-binary Alex,
which I'm sure in 2004 they were not writing non-binary characters.
They were the cutting edge. all the others are non-binary.
I would love that if they were just like a genderless society. That'd be so.
I'm here for it.
So yeah, as we know, Rousseau's child's name is Alex. Now I can't remember if it's a daughter or a son that Rousseau
I believe Rousseau said it was a daughter.
Okay.
So for this theory to work, it would have to be a female Alex.
Right. So Alex, I mean, there's no reason why they don't say the name Alex for this exact reason.
Yeah. I mean, there has to be to get people to start theorizing and
correct. Like, it very well could just be nothing, but clearly the writers were like, oh, right. What if we said Alex and get people all interested? So that was really big. And then so they give up all their guns so that they make a rule. And they make a rule,
the line
where they draw a line, and basically, and it says, if you cross over here, you're dead. And I think that's quite generous of them, considering that was a long trek for them. I'm interested as to a lot of land. Why. And there's a part of me that's like, they clearly know that they're in the hatch, and maybe there's a reason why they're not at the hatch, though. Like, if you're the others and you're trying to claim everything on the island and you're complaining about them taking up resources and food and all those different kinds of things.
Yep.
And the hatch is stockpiled full of that. Why haven't you taken that over? So there's something that tells me that they can't be around that for whatever reason. And I wonder if it has something to do with the electromagnetic waves or something there. Now, what I am going to give you now is a theory that is not fully thought out. It is like a fragment of a theory. It is like fleeting in my mind.
It's like you trying to build an army, but instead you're trying to build a theory.
We are going to get to that too, because my God. What? Yes, let's build an army. Aaron, you're going to be in charge of. Like, all right, let's get the drug addict in here too. So this island is supposed to be about good and bad, right? We always see black and white imagery. We know that the others were trying to take people who are good. So I had this idea that maybe the others, and I said this a few episodes ago, maybe the others aren't bad. Maybe the others are good.
Yeah.
And the characters that we're rooting for are the bad ones.
Yeah.
But then, and this is where it ties into the second episode. So I'm just gonna be fully
just go for it. Yeah.
Okay. And we know that Walt has these special abilities, potentially, where he can kind of like manifest things, right?
Yeah.
He has like visions, and he seems to be connected in a weird way to this island, or like at least to the people around him. Like he knew to warn Locke about the hatch and like these kind of things.
Yeah.
And I always thought that maybe he, even though he is a nice, normal kid, other than that there's something dark about him. But if he's with the others and he's really special and those kind of things, maybe it's something light. But that doesn't quite fit with me. That doesn't fit together. So my theory really is that they are the forces of darkness on the island, and they are trying to corrupt the good people so that they have to stay on the island and not be able to leave the purgatory sense, right?
Okay, yeah. And
part of this ties into the second episode with this idea of baptism, because it very well could be that, you know, if this is taken within the realm of Christianity, right?
Yeah.
That they are trying to protect an innocent baby who could easily be corrupted, but will not have like the Lord on his side and have his sins like washed away from the moment, you know, he's born or whatever. So that's why I think that maybe Charlie's dreams have some substance to them, which is we need to protect this baby by baptizing him. That's why there's the dove. That's why it ties into that story and such, because, and I don't know, we don't know if Walt is baptized. We don't know if these other people are or whatever, but we can assume that there's enough non-Christians in the world that maybe everybody who is taken by the others are not baptized. And they're like, I don't know. That's just a fragment of a theory that I'm kind of working on.
No, I think that's a solid theory. So now we have to get to the ending of this episode.
Yeah. So,
oh my God.
First of all, the dog has claimed a new owner, which is Ana Lucia.
Ana Lucia.
Which means she's going to die next.
It's like, girl, your days are numbered.
Damn, the dog chose you? Fuck, man. Wouldn't it be so funny if Hurley came up to her and was like, dude, that dog's a bad omen, bro.
That dog's like 2-0, so, or 0-2. So you're let's see,
0-3. That was Walt's mom's dog.
Oh shit, you're right. 0-3. Oh my God, poor thing.
Yeah. So before, side note, we'll just talk about this quickly. Hurley confesses to Charlie that he has kind of a crush on Libby, and that he thinks that, you know, this is, I'm on the island. I stand the best chance of all time because I'm on the island, like deserted island theories, that kind of thing. And then we see him in the second episode, like clearly have a crush and kind of approaches Sawyer and Kate about it.
And let's talk. I want to talk a little bit about that, because there is a scene, and I know we're kind of getting into the second episode.
It's going to happen.
But Hurley mentions that he thinks, and there's another thing I need to talk about in this, the first episode, but Hurley mentions that he may know Libby or he recognizes Libby from something, and Libby just seems to like gloss over it. But he's like, I know you from somewhere. And she's just like, I don't know what you're talking about.
But it's weird that he doesn't mention anything like that before until he's right up with her and only spending some time with her. So I have a theory about that because Beth got theories upon theories upon theories, baby. I think because we know that she is a psychologist, that she worked at the facility that he was at.
Oh, okay. So do you think she knows who Hurley is?
I think she do.
Oh, okay, okay. That'd be interesting. So do you think like
that Libby's a woman of many secrets?
Yeah. Do you think that she's getting close to him because she is interested in a relationship with him, or because she like wants to get to know him more, or because he was previously a patient of hers, or like
I don't know. I think that I'm not going to rule out that maybe she likes him back or whatever, but I do think that she doesn't strike me as the type of person that's looking for like a romantic relationship. She seems to go to people who have some kind of power so that she has a say but can slither back into the background. And I don't know if she's still trying to feel it. I mean, they've only been there for 2-3 days at this point. She doesn't really know this crew that well. So it could be that she recognizes Hurley and has been like, let me see how he's doing kind of thing. Or, because it's not even that she glosses over it. It very well comes across like she's hiding it, you know?
Yeah, it does come across like that a little bit. And then I have to mention something, and I don't know if you caught it. Right before the bullets go off in the jungle, Locke has a conversation with Sawyer and calls him out, knowing that his name is not actually Sawyer, it's actually James. And he's like, where did you get that name from? Who did you get that name from? And Sawyer's like, how did you know that I got my name from someone? And then the bullets go off and they don't further that conversation.
Oh, no. He does say it.
Does he? No, he doesn't.
Locke says when Hurley finished getting the census, he gave me the flight.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I meant like that conversation does not continue. So we don't know like why Locke is so interested in this. And we don't know like, we know that so Locke knows that James took the name Sawyer.
Yeah.
But Locke mentions, who did you take this name from? That's something that you would not learn from a manifest. And Sawyer picks up on that and is like, how did you know that I took my name from someone? And then the bullets go off and they don't get to further that conversation, which is like another interesting thing of like, maybe Locke knows something about Sawyer or has like privy to information that like Sawyer is not.
Well, we know that Locke has this weird, he did it with Charlie with drugs. I mean, like he knows these things about people, and it seems to be whenever he's like really in tune with the island, he like becomes in tune with the people around him, or like he knows things. And he always had talked about the island, like basically imparting knowledge upon him. And I really think that there's something to the island, like telling him about the people there.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, that makes sense.
So yeah, and it's very interesting too. So like when he's meeting with the others, he's very quick to try to like, let's just give him the guns and leave. And I really genuinely think that he has an understanding of the island similar to the others. And it wouldn't shock me if Locke is an other. Like I kind of had some of those theories in season 1 beforehand. Like, I don't think he is, but it wouldn't shock me if he turns out to be one. You know what I mean?
No,
like
totally.
The ultimate, like he's like another. I don't know. Even though we have some of his background and such, but yeah. So we get to the very end of this episode, and Jack asks Ana Lucia if she really killed one of the others, and she says yes, and then he says, you're a police officer? That's what Saeed said. And she said, I used to be one. He was like, how long do you think it takes to build an army?
You want to build an army? Like, yes, Jack, that's just a casual conversation. Let's just build an army.
First of all, Jack, let's talk about every war that's ever been lost by anybody is always because they don't know the territory. So you want to take untrained people, give them guns. First of all, you gave half your arsenal away to the other side already.
Oh my God, it's so stupid.
Third, they made clear demands, which is stay away from this line. They're not really bothering you too much, right? They're staying
besides,
in a way.
I mean, they're kidnapping kids, so I get why there's like hesitation.
Oh no,
and like,
I get it. I'm just saying that like in terms of like building an army.
Yeah.
But
and there's clearly
like
a ton of
America
them.
going to Vietnam. It's like America going to Afghanistan. It's like America doing all these stupid wars where they don't know the territory, and the people who grew up there are like, we know where all the caves are. We know where all the jungle is. Like,
yeah.
All right.
It's so weird, and it's so out of left field, and it's just odd. Like, and
also,
why confine in Ana Lucia?
Saeed and ask about an army? She's a cop. Saeed was in the fucking army.
Yeah, he's a literal soldier. Like,
he's
Jack
like a high-ranking officer.
It's just so weird. And okay, I have thoughts because I have thoughts on like Saeed. Actually, no, it is in this episode. Why the fuck aren't they using Saeed more? Like, ever since Shannon died.
Shannon died 2 days ago.
That's true. That's very true. Get over it. Just kidding.
she was a bitch. Just get over it.
Yeah,
like,
get over it.
She tried to get you arrested.
Yeah, what the fuck? She tried to get your ass arrested. You can do better.
Oh man.
Okay, so let's move on to the second episode. Who's your MVP and LVP for this episode?
MVP for this episode is. It's going to be weird. I'm going to go with Sawyer.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
The reason being is that even though I do think it's weird, and I think it was a lazy writing choice to make him go on it, I do think that he goes truly out of trying to support Michael and Walt. I think that ever since that conversation in the forest where Michael overhears him saying to Ana Lucia, I don't care about him or whatever, I think he truly does. And I think that this is his way of trying to make up for it. That's one. 2, I like that he validates Kate at the very end and said, if he had yelled at me like that, I would have done that.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So I am going to give it to Sawyer.
Yeah. It's good.
LVP is definitely Jack. I mean,
he's like on a streak here.
I know we didn't talk about the memories that much, but to be honest,
so
like
lame. Like, we just know that she's a shitty person, his wife's a shitty person, and he's a shitty person. Like,
I was rooting when she left him though. I was like, you better work, girl. You know your worth. And then she's like, I'm seeing somebody. I went, and fuck you too. You're awful.
Yeah.
Jeez.
They're so awful to each other. And I do like I do have to give Jack a little bit of credit in his flashback, recognizing that there is issues in his relationship and him saying, I'm going to start working less because I really want this to work. Mind you, he's still a shitty person, but I think it's a huge character step for him in where he was in the flashbacks.
You recognizing your faults does not absolve you and make you just go, let's hug it out and we're good. Like, he pushes that upon her in such a manipulative way. And
totally.
I see people do this all the time. It is of all genders. I'm not just saying this, but more often, I don't know if it's just because I have mostly had straight people around me and I've been in straight relationships, but like, it is mostly men who do that kind of thing, which is like, oh, I recognize that I need to fix these things and now things are all better and you have to hug me and all this other stuff. And he's like, it's going to be okay. And like, oh, and then he does like his smile. And I'm like, no. You don't get to say something and then that just absolves everything, right? It was stupid. And your father literally fucking warned you about this and tried to protect you by saying that she left.
He did. He was like,
say what you want to say about Christian Shepherd. He was a
good guy in this episode.
I know. I was like, Jack is bad when I'm rooting for Christian. when I'm siding on his part.
Like MVP for the flashback, definitely Christian. Like he was looking out for his son. He even gave the bad news to the family because he's like, hey, at the end of the day, I'm still the chief of security. So who's your LVP? Oh,
Jack.
You already gave it to Jack. Duh, I'm an idiot.
So let's move to Fire and Water because
there's not much to talk about in this episode, so we probably don't have to go too in depth because we've already kind of covered the Libby and Hurley, and like the last episode, this only has really one storyline.
Yeah, but quick side note on the Libby and Hurley thing, I think there was something that she said that was really interesting. Which was, is it me or the washer and dryer newer than everything else?
She does mention that, yes.
And I was like, well, that's damn interesting.
Why would they did look new?
They did. They looked nicer than the one. No, I'm just kidding. Mine are brand new.
But they were like, for the era, they were like really nice washer and dryers. And it is something to know, like, yeah, for everything else being stuck in like the 70s and 80s in this place, it is very intriguing that there is a brand new washer and dryer inside of this hatch.
Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
I don't have any theories about it. Just wanted to point that out.
It's a good observation, Libby. She's a perceptive one.
She sure is. Okay.
So fire and water.
Fire and water.
Or fire plus water. I don't know.
Yeah, fire and water. So basically it's Charlie having visions and dreams and such, and starts off with him getting his piano on Christmas and his family trying to say, you need to save us by making music. You need to save us by making music. And what we really see in his flashbacks is him trying to save his brother from drug addiction and also kind of try to save himself through his music and through, if I write another song, if we make another album, then we can afford to make sure that you're going to get clean and all those different kinds of things. There's also a real sense in his flashbacks that he genuinely cares about his niece and having a good father. But also cares about them moving forward in like the right kind of way. Which is so interesting because even though his brother is fucking shitty and so awful for selling his piano without telling him and then taking the money and going to Australia and such, we know that works for him.
Yeah, it does
based off of past, flashbacks and such.
Yep.
But it doesn't work for Charlie. Charlie goes the opposite way after this moment. So in the same way that like Jack has the need to fix things, Charlie has this pressure to save everybody. And then it starts manifesting itself into, Aaron is now in the piano in the beach or whatever, which I must say, first of all, he's trying to open the top of the piano on where the hinge is. And I'm like, honey, you open it from the other side, okay? The hinge is here. It means the wood opens on that. Come on. So that was the situation. But it's just, he's having these visions that the baby is there and crying and nobody's there to save it. First, the baby's out in the piano. Then the baby's in like the cradle in the middle of the ocean and he swims out to get the baby. And with that one, he wakes up holding the baby, which I think is interesting. And of course, the audience is also supposed to be like, well, maybe he is using again. I don't think he's using. And here comes Beth's theory for this episode and Dab.
Okay, what is it?
Charlie's getting sick from the island.
Oh, you think he's got the illness?
Whatever it is, something that Rousseau said, I think that he's got the illness. Now, that's not to say that there isn't some validity in it based off of that other theory I talked about beforehand. But I do think that the island shows you truths through lies and manipulation. We see how it's affected Locke in the past. We've seen how it's affected Jack in the past with like his father and hallucinating, all that kind of stuff. We see how it affected Kate with the horse. And I love that there's that moment where he goes, Kate sees a horse. No big deal. Like, oh, it's me. It must be drugs. Yeah. And I totally get it. And I think that when he sets the fire and he grabs the baby and
it's wild.
He has pale lips, his eyes are sunken in, all this other stuff, similar to how his brother looked when he was on heroin in the flashbacks. So I think that we're supposed to believe he did relapse and this is him on drugs.
Yeah.
But that is too clear cut, Lost writers, and I'm starting to get on you. So I truly think that the island has infected him.
Okay. So what do you think is going to come of this then if he's infected?
Well, so here's the thing. We know that the people that Rousseau was with, she killed them, or they were killed, or they left, right? So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Charlie becomes a key into better understanding the others. I think that they make that line in the sand, the others do in this other episode, but they don't promise not to cross it themselves. They say, you can't come over here, but they never say, we can't go over there. I love that they say line in the sand right here when there's fully a circle all the way around them. So there are already people on that side. You know what I mean? So I think that I think is a clear message that Locke and Jack and nobody else is thinking. So I wonder if they start to like sense, or if they know, they clearly know things about, them and their camp and such. I wonder if it turns into a situation where Charlie is the key to them getting that baby.
I could see that. I could very well see that. And I also think that it's very interesting in that dream. It gets cut off due to the aspect ratio, but you do hear it. The plane is in that dream crashing, like the Beechcraft. It's like one of those extra things that, like, I believe on the widescreen version of the DVD, you do see the plane like come from the air and crash in, but because of how
it's interesting that once again, you have his mother and Claire dressed up like the Virgin Mary statues. And then just Hurley just comes out like, dude, what are you doing? Dressed up as Joseph. And it was so funny to me. Or like an apostle or something.
I loved it. It was so good.
I died. But clearly, I think clearly it's not the Atlantic flight. What's it called? Oceanic
Flight 815.
Yeah, clearly wasn't that plane. It was the, it was the Beechcraft. So I think that's the writer's way of trying to trick the audience into believing, look at all this imagery that suggests the drugs. And I think that what they're really trying to do is show that the drugs are always on his mind, but he's constantly overcoming it. And one side note here, it's very interesting to me that Locke doesn't destroy the statues. Instead, he puts them in like a safe. Just destroy them.
Yeah, it's very strange, especially with the whole concept of him saying, well, I have to take away the choice from you because you clearly can't choose correctly. But then like he still gives them a choice because they still exist on this island instead of just like throwing them in a fire.
Why aren't you just like getting? Also, this comes fresh off an episode where he literally told Jack, "We can't control people's choices."
Locke is so weird in this episode because he it's weird. It's like hot or cold, which I guess is kind of like why I guess that's why it's called Fire Plus Water. I'm very confused by the title of this episode as well.
Well, because he sets a fire, the baby's always in water. Like I think that's just like them. I don't know.
That sounds like a middle schooler came up with the title. There's fire in it, and then there's water in it, so it's Fire Plus Water.
Well, I think it's because he's setting fires through the water imagery in his mind.
See, I would have loved if this was called
Did you like that? Can you tell that I went to a liberal arts school and I just know how to bullshit things?
I thought it would be called Fire Plus Water because the smoke monster would be in it. Like fire plus water makes smoke, but that was not the case.
That's not true.
What? Fire plus water doesn't make smoke?
No, it makes mist.
What?
Smoke is just made by fire.
Mist is not made.
I know. I'm just okay.
I was
I'm trying to make a
genuinely
weird joke
confused.
and it's not working.
Oh, okay. I was like genuinely confused. I was like, wait, has my life been a lie? Like, oh my God.
No, it does make smoke, like because it make the waters the fire down into embers, which creates the smoke. But technically, it's the fire that's making the smoke.
Oh yeah.
But regardless, I know what you're trying to say. So anyway, what were we talking about?
I want to let's we were talking about like the visions and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And then how
And
Locke is
Locke
being
not
weird.
distracting. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Locke is another one that's very inconsistent with his writing, where they will write him to be like, everybody's free to make their own choices and faith and like blah blah blah. And then the next thing he's like, everybody has to have their own duties in the hatch and you have to follow it. And everybody, I'm taking this choice away from you. And you're like, okay, and I get it, right? Like people are super hypocritical. I understand that. But this doesn't come across as being like blatantly hypocritical. It's like one episode Locke can be like this and the next episode it could be very different. And if there was consistency, like even if it happened in the same episode and there was that kind of like tongue-in-cheek like, you see he doesn't follow his own advice, I'd be with them a little bit. But this comes across as like, I can't tell if it's lazy writing or brilliant writing.
It is, I would say,
a mixture of both.
I would say a little bit of both, yeah, because I think as we're seeing Locke, how Locke deals with power and how Jack deals with power, and we see that like when power gets in either of their hands, they become very different kinds of monsters. So like with Locke, he's so built on faith that he kind of forces other people to subscribe to like how he believes and how he thinks. And if you don't, he's like, well, let me just slightly edge you towards what I'm thinking. And with Jack, he's like, well, let me fix your problem. Like, what's your problem? Let me fix it. And some people are like, I don't need you to fix my problem. And he'll still try to fix the problem. And with
Oh,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I would say with this, it feels like Locke almost taking on Jack's qualities where he's like, clearly there's something wrong with Charlie. I need to fix this problem. But like, as Charlie has said, I don't need your help. Like I'm fine with myself. Instead, he's more worried about saving Aaron because he gets these visions and he thinks, oh, I need to save Aaron. And Locke takes it upon himself, even though no one is asking Locke to do this, and is like forcing Charlie to like act a specific kind of way. It's very weird.
It's also weird too, because I don't understand why Charlie wouldn't be telling Locke, like when he's like, Charlie unfortunately delegitimizes anything that he's trying to say because he always brings it back to Claire.
Yep.
Don't tell Claire, blah, blah, blah. If you say that, that instantly removes any of the credibility of things that you just said, right? If he had approached Locke and said, hey, I'm having these really vivid dreams. This is what's going on, blah, 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 blah. I think that would have been a different situation. I also don't know why he doesn't approach Jack and tell them, hey, I'm having these dreams, blah, 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 blah. Now he approaches Echo, or like he and Echo kind of talk about it, and we're led to believe that Echo maybe says something about baptism or whatever, but I don't think that Echo's really trying to get him to do something.
Yeah.
I don't think Echo knows him well enough to know that this was actually like really damaging to what Charlie could do in this situation.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me that like, why not try to build up your trust with people by talking and focusing on the things that you are seeing and hearing? That is what the focus should be. And then bring in everybody for that decision without going right to Claire, without doing any of that stuff. This entire episode was so hard to watch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, what's your rating for it? We never gave a rating.
Oh, my rating for this episode is a solid 3. Like this was so hard for me to watch because it just screams abuse. It screams like he is just like absolutely not willing to listen to any boundary.
Yep.
Regardless if you think someone is in trouble or not, what you do is you warn the people and then you give people the space. You don't then set a fire and then take the baby to try to baptize it. Also, you can't baptize a baby.
Yeah, he's
So
like
what were you going to
weird.
do? Just put the baby in the ocean? Like, I don't get it. And that is why I think like there's something wrong with him. And I truly think that that's
It's
something wrong is the illness. But it's
yeah.
so hard to watch. I was so uncomfortable, which I know is like the aim of the episode, but like,
I know. And then like Lost tends to do that a lot where it's like goal is to make you feel uncomfortable. And it's like one of those things where there are like two basic avenues that this could be. It is either Charlie is using again and he is in a heroin induced kind of dilemma and kind of ideas of grandeur. And he thinks like, oh, I need to save Aaron. Oh my God. Like all these feelings that he has on the island are now amplified because of heroin, or it is an illness. And the symptoms that we're seeing of said illness are similar to the symptoms of someone being on heroin. And he doesn't understand because to him, he's like, I am clean. Like this is the way, this is how things are. And then no one believes him.
I also really struggle, and I'm not super well versed in heroin, but heroin is a downer. And it's one that's supposed to make you feel like really good.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem like he's feeling really good.
I think I disagree. I feel like he is feeling very good, but he has major anxiety because of how he has been ripped out of Aaron's life. And as we've seen in the flashbacks, Charlie has like when family is everything to Charlie. And so ever since being on the island, he has equated Claire and this baby as like part of his family. And so when he got that stripped away from him, he's this like huge anxiety now where he's like, fuck, I want to like help this kid and I want to help him because he's like, I think he kind of similar to Jack likes to fix things.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so he wants to fix Liam and he can't because Liam ends up fixing himself. And so he's like filled that void with Aaron and he's like, I want to make the best life for Aaron. And so whether it is heroin, whether it is an illness, even if he's like feeling really good, because he's like, he seems very out of sorts and like very loosey goosey. Like even how he's walking seems very like slouched over and weird. He is propelled by his anxiety, and he's like, I have to just.
I
like,
think
even
that's
like
fair.
And even him like waking up on the beach with Aaron, he's like, I don't even know how the fuck I got here. Like he doesn't even remember certain things.
And that's what I think is interesting. And I don't know enough about heroin or whatever, but I think that from what I understand, any visions and such that you see are pretty peaceful with heroin.
Yeah.
That's what my point is that these are very high inducing, which obviously you're right. He has such anxiety and such from this, and that makes sense. So but I feel like a lot of people do heroin to escape the anxiety. So that's why I'm like, I mean, the reason why heroin's such a big deal within like, the military community, especially with veterans and such, and, a lot of them unfortunately got it when they were in the Middle East as a means of coping with what they were doing and seeing, right?
Yeah.
And then they get back and it's like this little relief and like you don't have those. So, and I don't know if the writers are really thinking about this if he is on heroin, but it's one of those things where I just sat back and I was like, I don't think it's believable that he's on heroin if he's having such stressful visions and like that kind of thing. So I don't know. I could be completely wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. This is not a good episode, as we've said before. But at the end, we are seeing maybe a villain arc for Charlie here, where everyone kind of turns their back on Charlie, and Charlie is left to his own devices. The only person who really seems to interact with him is Jack, who sews up the wound that's on his cheek. But it seems like Charlie's really made a muck of things, and no one really wants anything to do with him anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, he essentially, in their eyes, stole a child twice.
I mean, yeah, that's a pretty big thing.
It's pretty big.
Yeah, it's like no big deal. Just kidnapping children on an island. Cool. So who would you say is your MVP and LVP for this episode?
MVP is hard.
There's not really anyone good in this episode.
I guess MVP is going to be Claire, because I really admire how she stands firmly in her no. She's clear.
That's true.
And I also like special shout out to Kate for like trying to run defense and being like, you need to leave her alone. You need to leave the baby
she
alone.
Did really
like
good there.
You better work, Kate. That's the energy I want to see on this island from you. But I do appreciate what Claire is trying to do. And I like that what she did do in that situation is she listened to what he was trying to tell her while at the same time setting a boundary and making herself very clear. I do think, regardless of your feelings on, Christianity and such, I do think that was kind of a beautiful moment at the very end where she makes this decision on her own for both her child and herself and gets baptized. A quick aside story. I don't know what people's thoughts are on baptism, and I'm not here to think one way or another. I'm baptized because I grew up Presbyterian, and my brother's baptized too, obviously, but his baptism came in kind of a weird way. And it's this kind of insurance policy that they kind of talked about. And so in my whole life, I've always had this feeling of like, oh, it's kind of like this insurance policy in case there is a heaven or whatever, even if you don't fully believe and accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior or whatever. And it reminds me all the time of my brother, because when my brother was 6 weeks old, he got meningitis. And they brought him to the hospital. They literally took my brother from my parents and went, we need to go give him a spinal tap. He's 6 months old. And they said, you need to go away because you're going to hear him and you don't want to hear him. And then they basically sent my parents home for the night. And they said, come back tomorrow. And so my parents were like, okay. And they came back and they said, okay, how's our son? And they went, well, he survived the night. And they were like, we didn't know it was like he might not survive the night kind of thing. And so they quickly got I don't know if it was a priest or somebody to quickly baptize him because they thought that he was going to die. And then thankfully, obviously he lived, and he, a lot of babies when they have meningitis when they're that young have some kind of brain damage that can affect their motor or their mental skills and abilities. And he really lucked out. He didn't have any issues ever in his life.
That's good. I mean, that's terrifying though. Like I had no idea that your family went through that.
Yeah, it's super terrifying. And they literally said it was one of those things that like he was lightly passed around at a party and like 2 weeks beforehand or a week beforehand or whatever, when they had a family gathering, and somebody probably just had it, but because most people were vaccinated against it, they were just a carrier, and there you go. So side note, that's why I always wash my hands and my arms before I ever hold a baby, because I want to make sure that I'm clean as possible.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
But the whole point of me bringing up the story is like, I am agnostic now, but I do understand and can sympathize with this idea. But I also think it's a really beautiful decision for those that decide to take those steps in whatever religion they choose to go for themselves, right? I think that's kind of beautiful. So that's the whole reason why I bring it up, because I do understand if you think that your child is in danger or even a hint of it, like wanting to do this because it's either a part of your religion or an insurance policy or making sure you will always be with your child kind of thing. So I thought that was kind of beautiful.
Absolutely. And it's shot really well too. And I really love the notion of like Echo doing this for her out of he just wants to. He's like, yeah, sure, I'm a priest. Like I'll baptize you. Why not?
This is where I get a little weirded out though. Is he really a priest though? Did he actually become a priest after that? Or is he just like pretending?
Maybe. He's also marking trees. He's
I know,
yeah, I really want
I like
one.
These trees. And I'm like, that's not why you're doing it. Yeah. Echo, it would be really shitty of him
He's
baptize people
he's a
if
Satanist.
he's not.
He actually baptized them for the cult of or the Church of Satanism. Like,
I mean, it's the most Christian religion.
Work, honey. Yes, slay me, mama. Come on.
So funny.
All right, and who's your LVP?
Charlie.
The shock.
What would you have done if I was like, Locke, how dare he punch him?
I didn't explain.
Yeah, no. No, clearly Charlie is the LVP in this episode.
Okay. So the next episode is called The Long Con. Who do you think it's about?
C-O-N? Con?
Con, yeah, C-O-N. Okay.
I thought you said Kong, like K-O-N-G.
This is actually Skull Island.
Is this the... it fucking just turned into
just that,
King
kaiju
Kong
universe.
Series.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, I would really
be fucking down.
Could you imagine if that's really what happens? And I was like,
oh my God, I'd be so here for
my theories were so wrong. This is just Skull Island the entire time.
Skull Island the entire time.
Oh God. Or no, it's Donkey Kong actually. And it's it's
set in the video game. This is like the weird extended universe.
Oh, it's set in the Donkey Kong 64 when they had all those different islands they had to go to. Oh, such a good game. Okay, Switch, Nintendo people, if you were out there, if you do not release Donkey Kong 64 as a part of that 64 package thing,
that'd be a
then
great
you
one.
are dead to me. Also, Perfect Dark. Thank you.
They also probably won't ever do that because it was made by Rare, and Rare is now a Microsoft company. So they'd have to get Microsoft's permission to re-release that game.
But they re-released all the other Donkey Kong games for Nintendo and Super Nintendo.
Yeah, those are made by a different company. So
those were Rare.
They all were.
Donkey Kong Country 2 starts off with the Rare, like the R. Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Fuck yeah. Give us the 64 version then.
DK64. It's one of my all-time favorite games. And I specifically, side note again, I specifically remember, do you know those like cereal bars that have like the fake milk in the middle?
Oh, yeah.
I became obsessed with those at the time that I was playing this game, and I used to like eat it. And so whenever I think of Donkey Kong 64, I always think of me splitting open the middle so that I would have milk on both sides and then licking like the fake milk stuff up. I'm so weird.
All I remember from Donkey Kong 64 is that noise when the guy is... What?
Yeah. Wait.
The bananas.
Yeah. I couldn't remember what that was, but it just awoke something in me in my memories. And I'm like, wait, that sound is there.
It's in the first level when you feed that giant thing with all the bananas. It makes like the worst fucking noise. And I used to make that noise all the time. Like
I remember diving down to that like mechanical island and trying to like figure that whole thing
out. I need to replay that game.
So good.
So the Long Con, who do you think it's about?
I want it to be about Locke, but I feel like it's going to be about Ana Lucia.
It is a Sawyer-centric episode.
Oh, duh! Yeah,
he's a con artist.
Wow, so
this episode, if I remember correctly, I actually really liked the flashbacks in this one.
Oh, cool!
Because it's really cool to learn more about like Sawyer's character.
We haven't heard about his flashbacks in a long while. I don't think we've heard them this season yet.
No, there hasn't been a Sawyer-centric one this season yet. But this is a good one. I know that people refer to this episode a bit, but this after this episode, bitch, I mean that is a term of endearment. It gets so good. Like Lost hits its stride. It starts getting into like major like, oh shit, what is happening like on the show, and I can't wait. And then it just keeps going and going and going until season 3, and then it just keeps going, and then it hits the writer's strike.
Oh.
And then after the writer's strike, it starts going up a little bit more. And then season 4, oh, Some people hate season 4. I fucking love season 4.
See, it sounds like we're in the same boat when it comes to season 4 with our shows, because apparently, due to what you saw, people didn't like
weird.
season 4, and I really like season 4 of The Nanny. I can't wait. You're probably going to not like it because I like it.
I might like it. I mean, it depends. Yeah. It's getting better. I feel like The Nanny's getting better.
Yeah.
Over time. But thank you all so much for tuning into this double Lost episode review of episode 11 and episode 12. We're going to be here next Thursday reviewing episode 13, The Long Con. And I really want us to squeeze in one more before we have to go on a break, because I need you. But then again, it would be very evil for me to like leave us on such a good like palette episode. Like, that would be so awful of me. So maybe we need to like pre-record. We need to pre-record. We have to. There's no way I can leave you off like that. I
have to say, it would be the least Christmas thing you could do to
so
me.
True. Okay, you're right. You're right.
I don't care if you have to stop celebrating Christmas on Christmas. You're watching.
Lost.
Even if we don't record, I am watching.
Well, thank you all so much. Please consider leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you want to talk about anything Lost, hit me up on Twitter at 8BitDylan.
And if you want to talk about The Nanny, hit me up at AugustaWind11. And make sure to also follow us on Twitter at Hot Miss Moments to keep up to date with everything, including as to like when our new episodes are out.
It's very true. Well, we'll see you all next week. And until then, bye-bye.
See ya.